Good day, everyone. So for today, I will be discussing to you about the third macromolecule, proteins. So what is protein? Aside from carbohydrates, protein is another primary building block of living things. It is a compound made up of small carbon compounds called amino acids. So the food that we eat, such as our meat, wheat bread, cheese, milk, eggs, fruits, and vegetables, including the seafood, are rich in proteins, which our body needs. Amino acids. So, what are amino acids? If proteins are the building block of our body or of the living things, amino acids are the building block of proteins. Amino acids are small compounds that are made up of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and sometimes sulfur. So these elements are the primary component of an amino acid. All amino acids share the same structure. So I will show you later the general structure of an amino acid. By the way, these are the different amino acids known to mankind. So there are 20 amino acids, and each amino acid, as you can see, their bottom part are all the same, but the upper part are different. So what is that upper part? So amino acids have a central carbon atom. So since carbon atoms, as discussed to you during your organic chemistry, they can form 4 single covalent bonds, and it can bond with hydrogen, amino group, carboxyl group, and a variable R. So this is the general structure of an amino acid, and that R represents the different amino group, or that represents the different components which makes an amino acid different from one another. The variable group makes each amino acid different. So, like I told you earlier, there are 20 different amino acids, and proteins are made of different combination of all the 20 different amino acids. So, whatever protein is needed, so this amino acids will combine, forming a peptide bond, producing a long chain of protein. Then it will fold, and it will build its quaternary structure so that it can produce protein. So to make proteins, amino acids are bonded through a kind of covalent bond called peptide bonds. Remember, peptide bonds. A peptide bond forms between the amino group of one amino acid in the carboxyl group of another. So as you can see here in the picture, the carboxyl group reacts with the amino group of the other amino acid. So after the chemical reaction, water will be formed, and carbon and nitrogen will be bonded together. Amino acids are divided into 2 groups. And what are those groups? First, we have the essential amino acids, and we have also non-essential amino acids. So what is the difference between these two? Essential amino acids are the kind of amino acids that are needed to be part of our diet. Meaning to say, our body cannot produce these kinds of amino acid. That is why we need to induce them, or we need to induce them in our body through eating or through the food that we eat. On the other hand, non-essential amino acids are the amino acids that can be produced by our body. So technically, our body can make these kinds of amino acids. That is why it is not that needed in the food that we eat. So those are the essential and the non-essential amino acid. So protein has different structures. And the first one is its primary structure. And as you can observe, the primary structure of a protein is just a very long chain of amino acids bonded through peptide bond. So that's the primary structure. After After the process of making the protein, it looks like that, a very long chain of amino acid. After the primary structure, we will have the secondary structure. The secondary structure is just a more complicated structure than the primary structure. So aside from being a long chain, it will fold. It will have some folds and twisting. Then it will form a beta pleated sheet and an alpha helix, and that is the secondary structure of proteins. Next is the tertiary structure. What is tertiary structure? Tertiary structure, as you can see here, it is more complicated or more complex than the secondary structure. So there are more folds and more foldings in this compound. Though it is complex already, so it is not yet ready unless it forms its quaternary structure. So you can see, quaternary structure is the functional structure of a protein. So talking about proteins, we also need to discuss about the protein synthesis. So what is protein synthesis? It is a protein synthesis is the process by which amino acids are bonded through peptide bonds in order to produce or synthesize proteins. So this is the process wherein proteins are being produced by bonding amino acids together. So that's protein synthesis. So protein synthesis has two processes. These are the DNA transcription and the RNA translation. In this protein synthesis, nucleic acids, which will be the last topic, is already included. So let us discuss protein synthesis. As you can see here in this video, there is a DNA strand wherein an enzyme is unwinding the DNA. As the enzyme unwinds the DNA, the RNA complementary nucleotides will then make a copy of the DNA. So you can see here, the DNA is being copied by the RNA nucleotides. But there is a difference. There, instead of thymine, there is uracil there in the new copy. So in other strands, tRNA and rRNA are being produced. So because we have different RNAs, we have mRNA or the messenger RNA. We also have the tRNA or the transfer RNA, and rRNA or the ribosomal RNA. So what is the difference between those three? I will discuss it to you next topic. So this RNA will travel in the cytoplasm. As it travels in the cytoplasm, it will bond with a small subunit of ribosome. So that flat thing is a ribosome. Then when it is bonded with ribosome, it will trigger the entry of a tRNA. So this is a tRNA, another kind of RNA wherein its shape is different. This tRNA carries an amino acid. After a tRNA attaches to the mRNA, a larger subunit of ribosome will attach to the small subunit, triggering the entry of another tRNA in the ribosome. When the tRNA is in place, the ribosomal force will form a peptide bond between the amino acids. The first tRNA will leave the ribosome, and then the mRNA will slightly adjust, giving room for another tRNA molecule. So you can see the tRNA is now entering the ribosome. It is complementary with the mRNA, and then the amino acids will combine, and the process continues. So that is how the primary structure of proteins are being made. So after that process, it the whole component will um, then break up, and in other ribosome it will do the same. Then the process continues. So next are the functions of proteins. So proteins are there because it has certain functions, and proteins has many functions. So first function is for repair and maintenance. Protein is termed the building block of the body. So discussed earlier, we all know that proteins makes up our body. So protein is vital in the maintenance of body tissue, including development and repair. So that is why we are growing, we are developing, our muscles develop. So it is because of proteins. So hair, skin, eyes, muscles, and organs are all made up of protein. So that's the first function, for repair and maintenance. Another function of protein is for energy. Aside from carbohydrates, protein is also a major source of energy. If you consume more protein than you need for body tissue maintenance and other necessary functions, your body will use it for energy. So if carbohydrate is sufficient, it can be stored as fat as an energy reserve. So as you can see here in the picture, so we have fats there in our belly because if we eat rice, that is carbohydrates. We eat bread, that is also carbohydrates. But we also eat proteins. So the excess protein that is not needed by our body will be stored in our body as fats. So if you want to reduce, then you should at least reduce your protein intake. Next one is for hormones. So protein is involved in the creation of some hormones. So hormones are the one that regulates biological processes such as muscle growth, hunger, heart rate, and menstrual cycle. So these substances help control the body functions. So an example of a hormone, insulin, it is a small protein which regulates the blood sugar. So without insulin, our blood sugar will rise and we will have diabetes. And we do not want that. Another function, we have transportation and storage of molecules. So hemoglobin is a protein that transports oxygen throughout the body. So that's an example of a protein. Another one is ferritin, an example of protein that combines with iron for storage in the liver. Then also we have these different structures that are located in the cell membrane of our cells, and this facilitates the transportation of molecules in our body. Aside from those, we have immunity. It also functions in helping form antibodies to prevent infection, illness, and diseases. So these proteins identify and assist in destroying antigens such as bacteria and viruses. So proteins is very important in our immune system. Aside from that, the last function is protein that can speed up chemical reactions in the body. So our body has many enzymes. Those enzymes are technically proteins. These enzymes increases the rate of chemical reaction in our body. Right. So as you can see here in the picture, that is an enzyme wherein that enzyme will bond with a substrate. Then what happens to that substrate is that it will either combine or split. So it depends on the substrate. If there are two substrate, the substrate can combine. If there is only one substrate, that substrate can be divided into two. So technically, those are the functions of proteins. And I hope that you really understand our topic for today. That is all about proteins. So for next topic, we will be discussing about nucleic acids. So I hope you're doing fine. So study well, take care, and God bless.